just like some of these big heavyweights are kind of dropping as well. We're going to start with Michigan State, backyard brawl for the state title game right there in the state of Michigan. Wolverines, honestly, it didn't seem like this game had too much drama. We were kind of talking amongst ourselves about how Michigan could use opportunities like this to prepare themselves for what's coming. Passing game a little bit, stretching a little bit. Hack, what did you take away watching these two go back and forth? And, I give Michigan State credit. They did battle to an extent, but really the game was over as soon as, it was put down on paper, schedule wise.
Yeah, no, I really do think Michigan State battled. For a Michigan team that had been pretty much steamrolling everyone early and often, with the exception of Indiana, that kind of took them to halftime, and it was but then they pulled away relatively quickly in the third quarter. I think Michigan State's done a damn good job battling, even now up until the last few seconds here, last few minutes. To me, this Michigan team showed a little bit of a propensity to put JJ in some positions where he needs to throw the football. I thought he answered the bell. I thought he threw it well today, and he is throwing it well. It's just I still haven't seen it, and you kind of hinted at it. I haven't seen this team have to put a game in JJ McCarthy's hands yet. Right. And at some point in time, if they want to do, at least in my opinion, if they want to win a national championship at Michigan, he needs to be able to win a game in that manner. And they need to be able to support him, not only from a personnel standpoint, but also from a play calling perspective, something we were talking about before we got here as well. When you got a young quarterback, how do we put him in really good situations to simplify things, to ultimately get him and lead him to water at times with some of these reads against different looks and different timing of the game and different feels of the game. So you have to almost lead them to water at times, and they haven't really gotten a ton of reps at doing that. So it is going to be trial by fire when that opportunity does arise. So that's kind of what I've taken away from this. I think it was he fought today. He made some great throws, some more mature throws down the field. But I think that ultimately, I still have a lot of questions from that standpoint with Michigan.
Felder. So that is the vibe. Hack and I were going over that, and it's not like it's just the two of us, but when you watch Michigan, I don't want to quite say they're one-dimensional. They are one heavy leaning. But honestly, so was Georgia last year. I just think the difference, you can do that when you have a once-in-a-generation something else. Right. Defense, your special teams are elite. Georgia, they eviscerated everyone defensively, and their quarterback never got in a shootout until they got in the national championship, and he still had plenty of help. Is this viable once they have to take this national for Michigan, this approach?
So I don't think it is. And I think the interesting element here for me, I've thought a lot. I've tussled with this for a long time, putting together this theory, putting together this idea, and I think I probably started doing this. Good grief! I'm showing my age now. I've been doing this for over a decade, right? And it used to be defense wins championships, offense puts butts in seats. Then it was we need an elite offense. But what I'm realizing is it's not just about offense, defense. What it is about your team's desire and ability to score. The threshold is 24 or it's 40. Are you a team that wants to win by scoring 24, which means you usually have a very good defense? And heck, we can talk about Penn State with that in a little bit. But if you want to win by scoring 24, which Alabama, Georgia, that's what they want. Or do you want to win because you score 40, which we'll get to Tennessee, we'll get to Ohio State. And I think that's the difference here. And then the question becomes, if you want to score 24, can you still get to 40 when you have to? And that's the question that I have for Michigan, is can they still get to 40 when they have to? Can they play that 49-49 through 58 minutes with Tennessee and then ultimately come out on top? Because that's what Alabama did. and they weren't able to come out on top because Tennessee said, "Hey, man, guess what? Three more points ain't nothing to us, dog. We love scoring. That's what we want to do. We want to score 40 every game." And that's the difference for me. I think that's why I'm very interested in seeing what Ole Miss does when they play Alabama. And I think that's going to be very interesting when Brian Kelly takes that show, when him and LSU go to play Alabama in a week, because we'll see what that looks like. Is he a guy that he wants to score that 40? Or does he not want to score that 40? Because that's what it takes. That's the part. I look at a lot of football through this lens, and obviously, honestly, I look at it through this lens of Nick Saban. Nick Saban didn't decide that he needed a team that could score 40 until starts with what? It starts with the Jefferson kid at LSU, who's able to make him look silly because of the misdirection in the running. But then it goes to Johnny Manziel. Steven Garcia is a part of that mix as well, because they had Alshon Jeffrey catching the ball up over his head. And then you throw in, what was his name? The kid that transferred from Clemson to Ole Miss, and they had Laquan Treadwell. And those guys are scoring.
Chad
Kelly. And those guys want to score points. And then that Ole Miss score some more under Hugh Freeze. They gave him problems. And he needed 2 defensive touchdowns to win that game.
But let me ask you this. I'm just going to go right off of that point. Hack, that the point crystallizes everything. Immediately when Felder was talking about that, you're either a 24-point great defensive team or meet us at 40. It's almost like how basketball is played. Right. Most of the NBA is outside the arc.
I mean, but here's what I'm saying. I went to UNC. Roy Williams' entire idea of basketball, which was crazy. It was, as a defensive guy, it was frustrating to me. So I was like, just buckle down and play defense. But his idea was, the more possessions we have in a game, the more we're going to win, because we're going to score more than they score, because we have better players. And that's what we're seeing here. And it includes scheme, because if Tennessee can flip those possessions per game, they're going to score more, right?
But that's a big if. Hack, the question I want you to go ahead, Hack. Go.
Yeah, no, but I was going to say, and that's the point. Is I think this Michigan team is kind of reverse engineering this whole evolution in college football, where it's to your point, speed, score.
Yeah.
How can I match up? They're going out and getting freaking Titans up front. They've got a really, really good backfield. They're playing great defense, and they're saying, "Hey, we're going to slow this down. Y'all are going to get this bitch between the fucking B gaps 40 times a game."
Yep.
And we're really good at it, and we're going to execute it. And they're going back to the foundation fundamentals of football, which I love. And I think that the only argument I would make about whether they're a team that can score 24 or a team that scores 40 is that when the problem is they have to have a lot of things go their way. But if they can control the game from that standpoint, offensively and then defensively play to the level that they're capable of, because this defense is playing very well. We talked about their defense last year being a really good defense. Yes. This defense is actually statistically ahead of where that defense was at the same point in time last year. So when you're looking at Michigan, like, they're just kind of throwing it back. Like, I think their offense, if they get it going, can score 40 whenever they want, but they're not necessarily looking at it from a points and numbers standpoint. They're looking at it as, how do we control the entirety of the game and slow it down and play at our pace?
Possessions.
It's in concert. It's also in concert. Today, so Michigan had 436 total yards, right? Threw for 167, ran for 269, getting 5.5 per clip. That helps your defense. I'm watching that game. They're bringing 3, 4, 5. Like, guys are coming from all over the place. They're fresh. They're in constant attack mode. Another thing there, when you watching that game, Felder, Hack, you and I have talked about this multiple times. The Michigan offensive line, just as a core unit, not offense, I'm just talking O-line, it might be the best core unit in the country. And you can look at Georgia's front 4, front 5, and Alabama's front 4 or 5 is maybe 2 or 3. Ohio State's up there. There's a pancake every play when you watch Michigan. And these dudes are still grinding backers into the earth, and they'll help them up. But there is a swag about playing O-line at Michigan. They're grinding you. My question, do they have quick strike ability? They get their work done in 10, 12, 15 play drives. It's hard hat, lunch pail. We'll meet you at the other end unless they spring one of these runs, but it's coming down tracks. It's not usually coming through the air. If they fall behind, if Tennessee falls down by 2 touchdowns, buckle up because they're still not out. Ohio State,
Right.
same. Bryce Young, same. Michigan, though, even though they're playing like real complimentary, orchestrated football, they have to control the game from their standpoint. If they can dictate the terms, they could play with anybody. Should they get down early, it'll be interesting to see. Michigan knocks out Michigan State today, 29-27. Once again, outgaining Michigan State 436 to 255. Another big rushing game for Michigan. Just rushing today. Michigan 269. The Spartans 37.